one of the biggest questions we have is what to do with our emotions. I think a lot of when I was younger, I spent a lot of my life reading self help book after self help book, psychology books, whatever book I could get a hold of. And it was a kind of addiction where I'd read these books and feel better about myself, have some hope, then that would wear off. I would always be finding the answer to everything in every book. This is the answer, I remember. But all these books were largely kind of vague in what they were instructing me to do. They would have these interesting processes where you would write down thoughts, you would change your thoughts, you would breathe, take deep breaths. But it was not specific enough. I never really felt that it was doing anything. It didn't matter how much I wrote down my thoughts or how much I tried to change my thoughts by replacing them with new thoughts. It just didn't make any sense. It's all thoughts. It didn't matter how much I took deep breaths and tried to be present with my emotions or tried to be mindful of them or tried to relax into them or whatever. It didn't do anything. So I went down the path of awakening and that type of spirituality, not the woo woo type, more just very practical ways to become clearer, right? And they, in my opinion, have the most direct discoveries in relation to this. The few people I met online and things, they're way ahead of pretty much, in my opinion, all of the self-help and psychology stuff. And they would talk about feeling the emotions in their fullest, which is going down into the body and really just feeling them and letting the thoughts come up and being with them and fully experiencing them. They never tried to get me to change my thoughts. It would only be about me looking at my experience and trying to really see what was going on. And from there, I figured some stuff out using a couple of other books and things online and everything. I eventually figured something out where I never really understood where all this tension was in the body. I had all this tension in the back of my head and my shoulders, and I carry it in my forearms, in my back, in the jaw. And I would always sit there with it and be with it and try to process it. But nothing would really work. Then one day I got really angry about something, and I really just let the anger rip. And then I felt my hands tense up. I felt the tension in my forearms. I felt my shoulders tense up at the back of my head. And all these places that were tense, I felt them activate when I was angry. And I felt the anger in my chest and my stomach. And then I realized that this is what that tension is. It's just anger that hasn't been released. So from there I started to release it. Like, I would sit down and have these certain meditations, which I'll get into later, and it does seem to do something. So that's one thing you can do with your emotions, is you can try to resolve them by feeling them through, finding the emotions that are stuck in the body that you haven't felt through at whatever stage, and just be with it over time. This takes days, hours, months, years. And this leads us to a greater experience of peace. But that's not necessarily the right way, and I use both ways of dealing with our emotions, which is, the other way is to just use it as motivation. I mean, if you look at some of the most, or the most amazing people on the planet, like, let's say, Elon Musk and all these people that change the world, usually they have very difficult emotional experiences. And a lot of these motivations that really make them superhuman in the sense of working as much as they do and doing the crazy things that they do, this doesn't come from a place of peace. It comes from these emotions that they're trying to, in a sense, they're externalizing them and trying to change the external world to fix these emotions inside. And this isn't wrong because I do it too. Because I feel emotions in the chest and the stomach, and I feel uncomfortable, and I look out into the outside world, or I think about the people in my life, and I try to think of how to change things. And I realize that this is a problem. Well, not a problem, but this is impossible, because it doesn't matter how much I change the outside world, I'm never going to change these emotions because I'm not looking at the right thing. But it doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it what it is. And if you want to use emotions for that, which most of us do anyway, then be aware of it and go for it, because I do it too. I get upset and I want to change my job. I feel like I haven't done enough in life, so I take up something new. All these things that really are not going to fix these emotions that I have inside, but they will create a better life externally for me and potentially the people around me, family and all that stuff. So, in my opinion, that's the two things you can do. You can look at the emotions and try to process them, or you can just go out into the world and use them as this endless form of motivation. Up to you. One of them, though, it's not going to give you greater peace. Just be aware of that. It can give you feelings of pride, you can achieve a lot, you can, but you're never going to fix the emotions by going out into the world. Not that they need to be fixed, right? So, the way that I meditate these days is that I will combine two things. The first thing I do is what I mentioned before, is that I will just feel emotions. I will sit there or stand sometimes and I'll try to feel the emotions that come up in their fullest. So I won't just be sitting there thinking angry thoughts, I'll let the body react. I'll tense up everything that wants to be tensed. I'll think everything that needs to be thought. I'll really let the energy just flow as much as I can, and over time it gets really powerful. You can do that with everything: grief, shame, fear, and anger. Anger for me is one of the big ones. Then, after I've done enough of that, depends on the day, I'll then go into more of a mindfulness meditation where I will rest as what I really am. So I am conscious awareness. I am the peace that underlies all things. I will try to rest as that and just watch and remind myself that all thoughts, all sensations, all feelings is just energy that flows on top of what I really am. I do not need to believe this energy. I do not need to listen to it. This energy isn't me. It's just information. I am the screen that the energy comes up on. It's like on the television screen, just watching the pictures. I am not identify the picture as the pictures. I just watch them. And I sit there and I remind myself of this, and I try to sit as I really am. This allows me to target things from two points of view, which is be the emotions, allow them to flow, resolve these things that have been stuck in the body your whole life. And it takes really a lot of energy to do it. Then the other side is to realize that these things aren't you, that you are the peace, the love, you are the infinite consciousness that all things arise on. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat to you next time. Cheers.